For 30 years, Weta Workshop's crew have been honing their craft on some of the world's most iconic of films, from The Lord of the Rings to Avatar to Blade Runner 2049. Weta Workshop's Starforge sword marks the next chapter in a story of creative collaboration with our friends at Tencent Games.
The brief from Tencent is took the one of the sword from the game named Starforge, one of the strongest sword in the game, to make a very cool physical one.
Although it's a fantasy weapon, we still need some level of realism to it. So the design department took the game asset and they looked at it and tried to kind of take the methodology of, forging from the stars.
We then spoke to Fox about some examples of swords that we'd made in the past and about what sort of size he wanted the sword to be.
We do a 1-to-1 scale printout of it and we put it in someone's hands.
You can then hold something full-sized in the hand without having to try and imagine, is this the right sort of size?
The Starforge sword's made of 3 major elements. There's the blade, the cross guard and the pommel metal pieces, and then there's the orbs within them. And so looking at each of those at the concept design, we started to look at, well, what would they be made out of?
These days with 3D modelling and printing, we can design a whole object in the computer, split out the components, and then decide what's going to be cast, what's going to be handmade, how different processes are going to be done.
Looking at the blade, we thought Damascus steel has a wonderful patination and a kind of sometimes otherworldly look. One of the issues with that is Damascus steel is not usually made that big.
Actually, it was going beyond the limits of what's possible, because the bar of steel needed would have been so huge and so heavy. So I ended up cutting the blade out of a large billet of spring steel, 14 millimeters thick. I cut the basic profile and then essentially I carved the shape into the blade using grinding belts. And then I had to come up with techniques to make a convincing false Damascus using etching and doing it in a multi-stage process, which took a bit of experimentation.
We made what I think was a really, really amazing Damascus physical pattern on the blade, and then with our paint team we coloured it on top of it, and the results are pretty amazing how close they are to that really cool concept art.
The central section where, the solar flare was translated from an energy field within the game, which obviously we couldn't make physically, into more of an organic, kind of ornate shape. Sam provided a lot of input in coming up with the design of the crossguard and the pommel. And so then from there we 3D printed it and it went to our moulding team and they were able to cast it out in wax, which then went for bronze casting.
I find it amazing that we're using the same process for making bronze today that we did hundreds and thousands of years ago.
What we needed to do was work out how we were going to represent the stars or the galaxy within the orb and the crossguard and the pommel.
What could we find as a stone orb that had the colours to create that feel of looking at a small galaxy?
We finished with labradite. Labradite's a wonderful rock that has this amazing way light hits it and then refracts. Once we have all those elements and everything's cleaned up, the swordsmiths start pinning it together and they use brass rods and glues.
This sword has had a huge amount of effort put into it.
It's fantastic to see how our team have taken the game sword through two-dimensional design right into three-dimensional design and made it into a physical item.
Seeing the finished sword is beautiful, amazing, and also very heavy.
This tested us a lot with our techniques, but it's created something really, really unique. You see there's that deep mythology, that deep history in there.
It's such a great honor working for this project, and I believe our team worked really hard together to get this beautiful sword for the best players.